Back at it again with another video. NASA Pat on IG. It's your boy Pat. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about just like, I don't know how to say this, but I guess my journey. It's a lot of you guys been following me for a while. A lot of you guys know me personally. It's not like I got a crazy big Instagram or following. So if you're watching this, there's a good chance you know me and you know kind of my history, you know things I've been through, et cetera, et cetera. So if you don't know me, name's NASA Pat. Need another $ always Pat. NASA is a brand that's just about getting money however. And now, for the first time in a very, very, very long time, I'm currently employed. I'm employed as a teacher. I work for Uncommon Schools, New York City. And prior to being a teacher, I taught a little bit at a Montessori school and just little things, but for the most part, like I've always been an entrepreneur. And it's funny thinking about my entrepreneur journey. And just, I remember the first time I told my dad, like I was bringing in $1,000 a day. I remember my first having employees, and just going from a space where I'm making money left and right, managing people, managing teams, managing relationships, to now clocking in and working a job. Obviously, I was making a lot more money when I was an entrepreneur. However, I had less freedom. A lot of my relationships suffered. Like I had relationships with girls, like my ex-girlfriend or whatever. I never was able to spend time with her because I was always on the road. I was always on a plane. I was always making moves. Even just my kid, like my son, like there's a lot of opportunities or times where I could have spent time with him and wasn't able to because I had to commit to being an entrepreneur. Even though I decided to be an entrepreneur before he was born, it still was like unfair to him because, you know, as a kid, you having your dad around is pivotal for growth, and, you know, having the mom and dad around, science has proven it has an impact on the kid, and it's more beneficial when, especially a boy, seeing his dad on a regular basis. So, you know, when you become an entrepreneur, there's a bunch of things you have to give up and things that you don't even know, because I started becoming like, I left my job at Fannie Mae. I was doing a finance rotational program. And when I was there, I had gotten a car for college. And while I was there, I had bought a second car. My pop was into cars. He sent cars to Nigeria. So I fake always been into cars. So I bought, like, I think it was like a Jeep Commander. They don't even make those anymore. And I started renting out the Commander. I had a Benz, started renting those out. And then, you know, heard about Zipcar, heard about Turo, started doing Turo. But it was not until like I went to Atlanta, and it was just, I went to Atlanta and I had rented a BMW on Turo, and it was like $60 a day, like $45 a day. And to me, it was like, yo, I'm doing Turo wrong. I had cars on Turo, like two cars. I had two Mercedes at the time. I had a C300, and I had a GLA 250. And at the time, I'm trying to get the most, 100, 150. After that trip to Atlanta, went back, dropped my prices to $60, $70. Business started booming, booming, booming. By the next month, I copped a G-Wag. The following month, I copped the I-8. About a month after that, somebody stole my G-Wagon, and then I ended up getting a new G-Wagon a few months later. That was a bunch of drama. Actually, we got time. So I bought a G-Wagon from Fred's Executive Auto in Virginia. This was after my first G-Wagon got stolen. So the insurance bureau, they told me they was gonna send me a check. I believed them. I seen Fred's, they had a G550. It had an accident on it, so they was trying to sell it for the low. And I was just like, yo, I'm interested. I'm down putting a deposit down, but I don't get the money from my insurance settlement for another couple weeks. I didn't know. They didn't tell me. They just said, you know, business days, you know, dealing with insurance. It was like maybe a week and a half went by. I still didn't get the check to Fred's for the down payment. They started like calling me, harassing me, telling me, oh, you got to return the car. You got to return the G-Wagon. So I was like, yo, you know what? Cool. Sent them back the G-Wagon. Then they asked me to pull up. The owner, Fred's, he asked me to pull up, talk to him, came, talk to him. I was just like, yo, you know, his kid actually worked at Fred's. I was like, yo, you know, your kid disrespected me. I called me, like I put money down. I think I had wrote them a check for $30,000, and I just didn't get the insurance check yet. So I was like, but he was like, yo, you know, I really want you to take this car. And in my head, knowing about what I know about cars now, is that if I would have brought back the car would have had an additional owner on it, and the Carfax would have reported that. However, since I kept the car, I told them to keep it. I needed them to deduct $7,500. So I made $7,500 like that. Well, I didn't make $7,500, but I saved $7,500. But I got another G-Wagon. It might have been, I want to say like 62K at the time. And it was like, had to been, I think, 2019, end of 2019, early 2020. I like literally got shot January of 2020. So I remember bringing the G-Wagon with like my cast on and blah, blah, blah. I couldn't really use my arm or whatever. And then they just dropped $7,500 and I kept it. And I rocked out with the G-Wagon. I ended up selling it like 2 years ago and making like $15,000. But I mean, this combo was just to like talk about just being an entrepreneur and the perks and pros and cons. And then now having a job and having stability. And for me now, every weekend I've been like traveling to DC to see my son. I've been able to get off work at a certain time and go hang out with people who matter to me. And for me, it's like, you know, like I'm an entrepreneur for life. I was an entrepreneur for over a decade. Like I quit my job in, I forgot, like 2016, and really was rocking the entrepreneur life until a couple years ago. where, I had to make some decisions really for my family, and I had to kind of stop being an entrepreneur full time. And even now, I still do dabble in entrepreneurship, but like just not to the extent that I used to. And, sometimes it's like difficult because I know I'm an entrepreneur. I know that at the end of the day, all I need is a couple of ideas to bring in $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Like, especially if, the ideas or the products you're selling are around $1,000 or $500 and profit margins are there, clearing a 5K in profit isn't that difficult. It's probably, in my opinion, easier to see 5K as an entrepreneur than to see 5K working a job. But that's just me. If you got any opinions on what I had to say, please comment, share, subscribe, like, all the good stuff. And I'm gonna keep making content, keep talking about money, keep talking about my experiences, and hopefully, this helps someone out there on the up and up, making some bread, having a way, and just staying focused. One thing that I wish I would have did when I was an entrepreneur was to be, instead of 100% in, I wish I was 90% in, and then I took 10% and diversified. That's one thing that heavy now in my 30s is diversification. Diversify, because you just never know what will happen. And as I got older, I realized, like, just a lot of men, women be having their way in entrepreneurship for a period, but it doesn't last their entire lifestyle, like life or whatever. So it's like, yeah, you might be running up for 5-6 years. Something in your industry might change. You might lose your motion. You might physically get sick mentally or whatever. And then you go back to your business and it's not the same. So one thing I would have done differently is diversify. So yeah, if I was selling dogs and I felt like dogs was gonna run it up, I should have put a little bit of my dog bread into maybe the market, or maybe I should invest in friends' companies or something, but diversify. So shout out to you guys for making it here to the end of the video. Appreciate y'all, appreciate the support. Like, subscribe, comment, send it to a friend. Over and out.